welcome to Nicole's Needlework. Today is Saturday, May 9th, and it's right around 9:45 a.m. This is a podcast about stitching and knitting, and I can be found on Instagram and Ravelry at Nicole's Needlework, and show notes can be found on my blog, nicolesneedlework.com. So I've got Ginger here. She's funny. Trying to get her in there. She's clean. She's in grooming mode, so don't mess with her right now. And someone asked last time where I got this bed. This I just got at Walmart. I actually got 2 of them. And when I first got them, they didn't like them. They like these little, these pink ones I got at Petco. They're like 10 bucks. And this one has like a little insert. And they didn't like them. They liked it without the insert, and then liked it once I put this bed inside this, I don't know. But anyway, now she likes it. She'll lay in there. But only with that other bed inside it. So last Saturday, I ended up getting a migraine, and this is hereditary, and I've been dealing with it for many years, and thankfully I don't get them often. Maybe a few times a year, if that. So, and they usually just go away on their own. Sometimes takes about a week, sometimes longer. So anyway, I've just been kind of dealing with that. It's not real bad. It's just annoying, you know, to have that pain. It's not like intense pain, but it's just there, you know. So I promised to do the giveaway today, so I'm doing this video. I put on some fancy earrings, put on some makeup to try and make me look better, even if I don't feel better. Anyway, and I do have show notes to help me because I know I'm gonna need them. And I get a lot of the same questions every week, so I'm gonna kind of make this a frequently asked questions, the beginning of this video, and then I can kind of refer people to this video when, you know, they have questions. So what my most asked question is, do I stitch in hand? And yes, I stitch in hand. I don't use a hoop. I don't use a Q-snap. It's just how I taught myself. And someone also asked, well, when you have a large piece of fabric, how do you deal with that? And I roll it. So I'll show you on my consider the lilies. So this is why my ends are kind of curled here, because I'll just take it, I roll it to the inside so my stitches are protected. I just do that until I get to where I'm stitching. And then I just hold this little rolled piece in my hand while I'm stitching. And then, so I'm at this little flower pot thing here. And then I just hold it. I have my finger under here. That's kind of what keeps the linen not taut, but where I can, just gives me a good place to start stitching. I don't know, it's hard to explain because it's just comes so naturally to me to do it that way. So that's how I handle large pieces of linen, is I just roll them. And then another question I get asked is, why do I start in the bottom right hand corner? And I don't know. I taught myself to stitch when I was 13. I had no one around me that stitched. I had my grandma, I think, stitched, and my aunts, but they weren't near me. It's just where I started. I just started in the bottom right, and that's just what I've always done. So the things I do that might be strange, it's because a 13-year-old little girl who had no clue what she was doing taught herself to stitch, and you know, we didn't have internet, we didn't have YouTube, and actually when I first started stitching, I used all 6 strands and couldn't figure out why it was not looking right. And I did go back to there was like a little craft store in a mall, And I did go back there and ask them, and they're like, oh yeah, you got to separate those. So they did tell me to do that. So I figured that out. So that is one. Let me get my notes. Oh, they're under here, because I will be all out of place. Okay, how many hours do I stitch in a day? I get this a lot. Sorry. I basically just stitch when I can and where I can. I wake up in the morning. If I have some time before I have to start work, I'll do a little stitching then. If I'm having kind of a slow work day, or if I'm doing meetings, or if I'm uploading, sometimes my job involves uploading large videos and I have to kind of keep an eye on it. And it's, you know, I just got to basically be there by the computer to make sure it doesn't time out. So maybe I can put a few stitches in while I'm babysitting these videos. On my lunch break, or, you know, after work, after I make dinner and, you know, things have settled down in between, you know, just whenever. I stitch whenever I can, as long as I stitch every day. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it's 15 minutes or 5 hours. That's just the most important thing to me, is stitching every day. It just calms me. It's like meditation. It's just so important for me to get a few stitches in. Okay. How do I figure out linen size? So I've gotten this question quite a few times. Figuring out linen size. Let me get my consider the lilies pattern again. So basically it's just simple math. You take the stitch count. So this is 435 by 363. So I'm using 40 count linen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that stitch count, 435, and I'm going to divide it not by 40 but by 20, because I'm stitching over 2. And that gives me 21.75. So that is the width of my stitch piece. 21 3/4 inches. That's my width. So then I'm going to figure out how much border I want. I usually use 4 inches, some people, or 2-inch border. Some people like 2.5, some people like 3. But for me, I like 2 inches. So I am going to add 4 to that number. So my linen needs to be 25 3/4 inches wide, or just round it up to 26. And then for the height, you do the same thing, 363 divided by 20, 18.15. And then I'm gonna add my border. It's about 22 1/4. So that's my width and that's my height. And then so since I do a 2-inch border, and I always start at the bottom right, I'm gonna measure 2 inches up and 2 inches over, and then that's where I start, and I count over whatever I have to do. But that's how I figure out linen size. And Yarn Tree has a very easy fabric calculator. You just got to remember, because it has Aida or linen, it has a border, and then it has extra for finishing. But if you go on there, make sure if you're using linen to change that 1 to a 2, because you're going over 2 linen threads. And that's it. Very easy, very simple. I didn't know it when I first started stitching. Again, young, didn't have anyone around me to show me what I would do. And this is crazy. I'd take my pattern, and then I'd put my fabric on top of my pattern to see if my fabric was, like, what was I thinking? And I did that with a lavender and lace angel once, and I put my fabric on top of my pattern. I'm like, okay, I have enough. I didn't have enough. That angel didn't have wings. So yeah, lots of, I learned a lot. But yeah, very easy, and I will post a link to that Yarn Tree fabric calculator. Okay, so how do I store my threads? I get this question a lot, and I think I've shown this before, but I will show it again. For DMC, I have them in these DMC, so I have bins, DMC bins from my shop that I had in Atlanta, and I only kept a couple of them. So what I ended up doing was I took some floss boxes, cut the tops off, and then these are what came in the DMC bin, and I cut those in half. So I have all my DMC on bobbins, and then leftovers go in the back. So extras or ones that I have on thread drops, they go back here. But I like having the bobbins because I can quickly pull the color I need if I need to convert it. If I just need a little bit of floss, I just pull that out and put it back. But that's how I store my DMC. And that seems to be working. I have thought about changing it in the future, but for silks, I just have them in these IKEA boxes, and then I have them in floss weight bags by color. So these are my Belsoise, and I just have them kept in there, and I just have a piece of cardboard in the middle to divide it. So that's how I keep my overdyes and MPI and Versoise. I keep it like that. For my overdyed cottons, I'm using Vana Twisted Stitchers system. So this is just a file box. And then I have them in alphabetical order. And I cut, Vana used to have a tutorial. I don't know if she has it anymore. I've tried looking on her blog, but I don't see it. So basically all you do is you cut the top of a hanging file folder off. It's about 2 inches, I think. Punch holes in it, and then get these little rings. Office Depot has a whole like little bucket of them. They're the best ones I've found and the cheapest ones I found. And you get like 50 of them, I think, in a bucket. Amazon, I've tried them, and half of them wouldn't open, or half of them were broken. So, and they're not in alphabetical order because it would drive me crazy to do that. I even asked Vana, I'm like, what if you get new floss, then you have to change them all? She goes, no, just have all the A's together, have all the B's together, and so on. So that's what I did. And I really like this way of, because I can just quickly, if I'm looking for a color, say I have my little DMC, and just quickly flip through these and find the color I'm needing. So this has worked out great. I love this system. It's not compact. It's really kind of bulky and takes up space. But as far as being able to find colors quickly and matching up colors, it's really a good system. So I like that. So, as far as stitching in hand, so yeah, I do have an exception. If I'm working on a band sampler with specialty stitches, I will use a scroll frame. So that is my one exception. And looking back, if I were to do this again, I may not even have used a scroll frame. I've gotten so used to working without one. But it is kind of nice when doing like all these eyelets, and I had all this Bargello. And this is Dorothy Walpole by Scarlet Letter that I really need to get back to. I promised like 500 times that I'm gonna finish this year. So I'm really gonna try. I need to keep this out so I get back to it. Okay, and how do I store my fabric? Well, I used to have my fabric organized by count, and I had them in a like a drawer, plastic drawer thing, and I ended up giving that to one of the kids. I should probably take that back. But right now, it's just in a basket. It's not organized. I really, when I thought I was gonna get my craft room, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have cubbies, and I'm gonna have different bins for each count. I had it all planned out, and craft room's on hold because we're moving. I don't know when we're moving, but we're moving someday. Okay, and then I get asked, well, where are you gonna put that once you get it framed? Well, I don't know. I have no idea. And since we're moving, I don't know. So I'm not getting anything framed right now because the last thing I want to do is move more stuff. So it's easier just to move the fabric than it would be to move a frame piece. So I'm holding off getting things framed right now. I am gonna send a couple things to my friend Faye, Carolina Stitcher, to finish into pillows. But that will be easy to move. Okay, so I think that's it for questions. If you have any questions, leave a comment, and I always try to answer questions. If not, leave another comment and ask it again because I may have just missed it. Or send me an email if there's something you really want to know. Okay, so finishes. I finished, whoops, my Project Quarantine by Brenda Gervais. This was so much fun to stitch, so cute. I really loved stitching this. And I stitched it on 35 count Old Mill Java by R&R. It's just a scrap piece I had in my stash, and I used all the called for threads. So I had a lot of fun. And so I'm going to be giving this away. I'll do it at the end of the video. And I'm giving away fabric, threads, and a pack of my favorite bow-in needles. So that's another question I get asked, is what needles and what size. And I use size 28 bow-in needles. They're the best, in my opinion. And then I had another finish. So I got out this Stacy Nash little red work pin keep pillow, and I only ended up doing the front. I didn't do the back. And looking back, I wish I had done this on like a smaller count, because this is 36 count Ligonier Latte, which I love this linen, and it's the same linen that I'm adding to the giveaway. It's a really pretty color. And I used the called for Weeks Dye Works Cayenne, which is a really, really pretty red. So I may actually end up stitching this again and doing it on 40 count and doing the front and back. But so when I picked this up, I think on Thursday, and I had only done like a little bit down here, and it really was quick to get it finished up. I finished it up Friday night, and I started this in New York City, so it brought back a lot of great memories of New York City last fall. It made me think about everything New York is going through right now and how I hope to get back there. You know, I love New York City. So those are my finishes, just small little finishes. And I don't know, I had a crazy week again. Like, I was starting things like crazy again. Kitting things, unkitting things. I was going through my whips, and I'm like, I have too many whips. So I went through and I unkitted some, put the fabrics away, and who knows, I might get them rekitted one day. But obviously, feeling anxiety like everyone else. It's just such a crazy time right now. So anyway, so I started another new project. This one I'm so happy. And I ended up starting GGR Miss Manners. And I decided to pull the cottons and do my own conversion to silks. We'll see how they look. I had a little help from my friend Carol. She told me to like soften it up a little, and so that's what I did. I got rid of like the harsh orange. But other than that, pretty much picked my own colors. So there's my little start. And this is on Vintage Pecan Butter by Lakeside Linens. It's such a pretty linen. So that's my little start, and glad to finally be using some of those silks for my stash. So I can't wait to get back to that one. And then I ended up getting back out Summer at Hollyberry Farm by Stacey Nash. I'm feeling kind of in a patriotic Americana mood right now. I guess because it's May, Memorial Day. And then we're getting in June, July. I can't believe summer is almost here. Our weather has been really weird because it got really hot and then it was really nice and now it's windy. I don't know. But I just worked on this border a little more. And that's all I did. Using all the called for colors. Pretty prim colors. And this is 40 count Vintage Fawn by Lakeside Linens. And someone asked me where I got this. I think I got it at 123 Stitch years ago. So obviously I don't have it anymore. And this is funny because here's my little practice for the berry bowl. My little sewing practice. And I just, because I've been changing between the border, the red, and the vine. So I'll have one needle threaded with the red and one with the, I think it's like apple cider. And then whichever one I'm not using, I'll just stick in there so I don't have to keep changing my needle, threading my needle with different colors each time. And then what else did I work on? Oh, so after seeing Reese's video, she inspired me to get my Manor at Quaker Hill back out. And I got a few stitches put into that. And I'm doing this on 40 count Legacy by Picture This Plus. So basically, one night I worked on this vine and had to basically rip it out because I miscounted. So I got the vine back where it's supposed to be, started on this flower and did this flower. So that was about it. You know, I was doing the Tiny Decisions app and had my husband, I'm like, okay, hit the button. So he got to pick out what I was stitching. And worked on lilies just a little bit. I stitched this flower here, and then I started working on, there's like a little plant or flower pot thing there. It kind of matches this one here. So. And again, this is the 40 count Dusty Road and called for threads. And with this one, called for threads also with the Quaker. And then I worked a little bit on berry bowl, just a tiny bit. Told you I'm all over the place. So some of you were very concerned about me only having an inch, and I was promised by someone who used to professionally frame and still frames her own things, that it will be fine. So I'm leaving it. I'm not taking it out. I'm not starting over. This over one was such a pain. So it's just going to be what it's going to be. But I just got the leaves on the other side of the cartouche done, and I started on the bottom of one of the bowls there. And again, this is Legacy, like an older dye lot, more brown dye lot, and this is Ren, kind of a lighter dye lot of Ren. And they're both 36 count. I had a dream, I don't know why this just came up, but I was getting ready to sew 2 pieces of fabric together and they were different counts. Why would I even dream that? My brain is like all, I need to just like, I need to do some meditating. And I'm using all the Culver colors on that. And there's the picture. Berry Bowl Sampler. So this is the one I started right here. So pretty. Love it. And I got, oh gosh, worked on a lot more than I realized. Just little here and there though, not like a lot on one thing. So I got this back out, Me and You, because I was looking at my smaller projects and I'm like, I just need to get these done and get them off my WIP list. So Me and You by Lottie Da, such a sweet sampler. So I got that out, and I really didn't, I put maybe like 20 stitches in it. So I was just working on this little, hard to show, this little pink border here. I was working on that. Isn't that so sweet though? I love this. So speaking of Faye, I want to send her this. And I know these could just be made easily into pillows. My sewing machine, it's not the greatest. I don't trust it to, and I used to have a 1/4 inch foot. I don't know what happened to it. You know what? I'm just sending it to Faye. She's a wonderful finisher, and I know she will make it beautiful. So, and I'm gonna send her this too. So I was thinking, if I could get this finished, I could even send her this. So maybe, we'll see. If not, that'll come next. So I do need to keep this out. I'm giving myself marching orders. Oh, and then I got out my Anniversaries of the Heart because I was looking at it. I really don't want to abandon it again. So I had my sister's name in here, and I ended up taking it out because it was just too light. You couldn't even see it. And I'm either going to stitch it in darker or just do her initials and figure something else out. But that's the whole thing again. And I did work on, like, there's eyelet stitches down here, so maybe I worked on like 3 eyelet stitches. Told you, all over the place. All over. And another one that I really want to get back to is she just pulled this quilt down. She's causing trouble. Ginger, what is she doing? Is Liberty's Welcome. Yeah, Liberty's Welcome by Plum Street. I love this, and I really, really want to get back to it. And this again is on the same 36 count Ligonier Latte. I love this linen. Oh, and my last video, I was rewatching it, and when I was talking about Ann Dale, I must have said pretty like 500 times. I was like, what is wrong with me? why do I keep saying pretty? And then every time I said pretty, I'm like, geez, you guys could be drunk if you had a drinking game with the amount of times I said pretty. But anyway, man, I love that border. It's so pretty. Okay. And this is all 36 count Ligonier Latte using the called for MPI silks. Pretty, pretty colors. So pretty. And so that's it for stitching whips. Knitting. This is the Never Ending Shawl. My Hoo-Hoo-y shawl by Joji Locatelli. And I put a few more rows in. I'm telling you, these rows are taking a long time. But I need to get it done. I'm ready to get it off these needles and get it done. And this is Madeline Tosh, Tosh Merino Light in Undergrowth, Celadon, and then Malabrigo Machida in Natural. And that's Hoo-Hoo-y, J-U-J-U-Y. And then I also started my What the Fade by Andrea Mowry. I had started it using a different, I didn't bring it with me, but so I was kind of copying what another person did. And then I ended up changing it. So she had kind of, it's called Daydream, and it's like a lavender as her first color. Well, I changed it to this. This is a new Hedgehog Fibers color, and it's called Comeback. And this is Skinny Singles. I got this from Eat Sleep Knit in Georgia. And so I decided, I love it. It's so bright. It's so funny because my knitting is kind of different than my stitching. Like I really like bright colors for my knitting, and I kind of like the more prim stuff for my stitching. So this is the, let me see. So this fade is kind of different because you use one color on the front and then another color on the back because it's brioche. So I don't know if you can see that. So this is the one, this is the front, and then the back is more gray, and you have that other color. That's how brioche works. So this is the Comeback, and then this is Cheeky. So that'll be my second color. And then Typewriter. So it'll kind of fade like that. And then Crystal. And then this one is called Salty Tails. So then you have a darker gray. And then Graphite, which is the dark charcoal gray. So anyway, I think it's gonna be really pretty. And I was unsure. The Daydream, it was pretty, but it was just kind of dull. It looked kind of dirty. I don't know, I wasn't happy. And then when I got this, I was like, oh no, that's not gonna work. Because it had so much yellow, and I was like, I don't think that's gonna work. But then I started knitting, and I'm like, oh, I love this. So, yeah, that makes me happy. And I'm using, these are US 3s, 3.25 millimeter. And this is a Knit Picks needle, and I do not like it. I thought I had ordered some ChowGoos on Amazon. Well, they had the picture of the ChowGoos, but the description was Addi Turbos. And I like Addi's, but the point isn't, it's kind of tapered. It's not pointy enough for me. So I'm gonna return those and get the ChowGoos, because I love those. But yeah, this is gonna be a fun one, a lot of fun. And it's called What the Fade by Andrea Mowry. And then I did get a couple more skeins like I said I was gonna get, and I got this. This is Madeline Tosh Twist Light, and this is called Hilo, H-I-L-O. And I was thinking of doing kind of a tonal or a two-color shawl, but they kind of blend together. So I think that would be really pretty, that you just have these little kind of pops of color. And this one I had in my stash already. This is just Rose, same brand, Madeline Tosh Twist Light. Got 2 skeins of Madeline Tosh Merino Light, and this color is Elizabeth Taylor. It's so pretty. I don't know why, I'm kind of into purple and pinks lately. That's kind of why I picked out this shirt. But man, I love this, and I'm thinking the shawl is called, I think it's called Aisling. I'll put a link in my blog to the shawl I want to knit with this. And I know I said stitch. I want to stitch knit, you know, knitting stitches. I said that last time in my video. But this yarn is gorgeous, and I can't wait to knit something with that. So that's it for yarn stash. Stitching stash. So I got, when I ordered some silks, I couldn't just have silks, so I ordered a couple patterns. So with one of them, I got this Mary Apple White, and Rhonda Gypsy, is it Gypsy Jane Designs on Instagram? She just finished this one. It's so cute. I love GGR so much. I love her. She has a lot of samplers with red in it too. And the other one I got was Hannah Jenkinson sampler, dated 1778. Oreos in here and causing all kinds of trouble. So I got Hannah Jenkinson. I should take it out, glare. And this is a fairly new release. It was released this year by Stacy Nash. It's just a sweet sampler. And it calls for 28 count ale by Picture This Plus and DMC. So I have a piece of 36 count ale in my stash. And I just pulled DMC. Had to use a couple of my bobbins there. But these colors are so pretty. Aren't those pretty? And someone asked me about these are thread drops. I think that was on Instagram. Someone asked me about what are those circle things, and thread drops by Access Commodities. If you just do a Google search, then you can find shops that are selling them. Or you can make your own. Emily, Eclectic Possessions, talked about these on her channel, I don't know, earlier this year or late last year, but they are just tags. You can get them on Amazon. They look like that. And then you just get a little, I think this is a 1/2 inch circle punch. And then you just punch the hole, and then if you want this hole to be bigger, you can just punch it with a regular hole punch. But you basically just line it up, punch it out. And so these are great, and I think there was maybe like $5 for 100. So that was a good deal. So, and then I got some of these 2-inch rings on Amazon, I think also for like $5. So the only problem is, see, they don't go past that hinge there. So if you punch it, if you want it to go past that hinge, just punch it with a regular hole punch right there, and it will go past there. So, and I will post links on my blog or in the down bar, in the description bar, for the links to this. Alright, so it was Hannah Jenkinson by Stacy Nash. And then I got a few more silks I was needing for Charlotte Frost. Look how pretty. And this is the linen I was thinking of plugging your latte. Love that linen. So. And then I also got a couple silks, and I actually realized I already had one in my stash when I was putting it away. I thought, I don't know, I have a spreadsheet where I keep all my silks, my everything, threads, where I list all my threads and keep a track of them. So I really only needed one silk for this. So this is Stars Hollow Blend by R&R, 40 count, and Sarah Spencer, that's the little gem by Hands Across the Sea. I printed it out, downloaded the PDF and printed it out. And then, so I had a few of these in my stash, and this one is actually a little lighter. It calls for 2636, and this is 2635. And I was thinking of just using it because I kind of liked how it looked. What is in it? I'm trying to get these in rainbow order here. Pretty. So. And then I kitted up this after I finished the other Brenda Gervais. And I love doing the little over one sections in that design. So I got out the threads that this calls for and a piece of 28 count Lugana, mushroom Lugana. Oops. So this one I want to start soon. Those are the called for threads. And yeah, I'm weird. I love doing over one. I don't love like a whole long thing of words or something, but, and on 40 count, I don't love doing over one on 40 count. But on this 28 count Lugana, it's a lot of fun. And I don't use a hoop. I just do the sewing method. I've talked about this before. I use Ruth Sparrow's over one sewing method. It's a great method. And I can post a link to that too. I gotta write that down so I remember. Okay, and then the last thing I kind of kitted is for Plum Street Samplers, a new constellation. I don't know what it is about that design that I just love. I love the flag on the bottom. I love the border. It's just a really, really pretty, patriotic, I don't know, but I have this piece of 36 count fawn that I got at Fire Poppies. I don't think they have anymore, but I thought, because it calls for oaken, and so I pulled the threads, and I think it would be really pretty on this 36 count. And she actually uses quite a bit of DMC. and some classic color works. So this is my only floss tag, or what do you even call these, floss minders that I have. So I stuck it on there because I found it in my, it was in with my Redwork pin keep for some reason. And I have these teeny tiny little rings, and I stuck it on there. So it says Floss Queen. I got this in Myrtle Beach a few years ago. Anyway, so I have the pattern on order along with the drum one she did. And then I have a couple more things coming from Stitch and Frame Shop. So I placed a little order with them, and she said she'd mail it out yesterday. So it should be here. It's coming from Rock Hill, South Carolina, so maybe in a couple days, Monday, Tuesday. So I think that's it. This has been a long one. Like I said, let me know if you have any questions, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that giveaway. Okay, got the website up, just do the random comment picker, and I'm sorry if I didn't make myself clear last time that the comment must be on YouTube. So next time I do a giveaway, I'll try and make myself a little more clear, because I use a website that picks the comments from YouTube. It just makes it so much easier, especially when I have a lot of comments. Okay, so I'm gonna hit start. And the winner is Wee Stitcher. W-E-E Stitcher. And she or he said, quarantine, stitching, quilting, cooking, cleaning, and working in my yard. So, and I loved reading all your comments about what you're watching, what books you've been reading. I wrote a lot of that down. Okay, so I think that is it. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below or send me an email. And so Wee Stitcher, send me an email, and I will get this out to you as soon as possible. And I'm gonna go take off my fancy earrings, wipe off the lipstick, get my pajamas on, and either get in bed or sit outside and stitch. That's all I plan to do this weekend, in between laundry, of course, you know, the usual. Oh, I almost forgot. So I got a sweet gift from Lisa. She won one of my giveaways last time. She sent me this cute card. Isn't that adorable? It's I am a nitwit. Very sweet note. And she also sent me this very sweet scissor fob. Isn't that cute? She did such a nice job on this. And she just tied it on there on the card with ribbon. Very cute. And her name is Lisa Davidson. So her tag says dolls, miniature, felted items, specialty sewing, vintage apparel, and gifts. So thank you again, Lisa. I love it, and I can't wait to use it while I'm stitching my patriotic pieces. So thank you again. So now I think that's it. Hope you guys have a great week. Maybe I'll do another video next week, but it might be 2 weeks. I don't know. I think we are staying home from work. They're fighting now. 1 more week, and then they are going to decide what to do with us. They may have us work from home a couple days a week and going to work a few days. I don't know exactly how it's going to work yet. So just taking it a day at a time. That's all we can do. And hope you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and just take care.